Good morning, afternoon, or night. My name is Jonathan Marvin, and today I will be speaking on the effects of violence and personality on eyewitness memory. Before we get started, I am sorry about the light to my right. This is the only suitable place I have to record this, and the window is very bright. So, moving on. Today I will be summarizing three studies I have found based on this topic. Afterwards, I will be heading into the field to interview community members on what they believe are some key factors in people's ability to recall information post hoc, or after the event's taken place. The primary study I would like to talk about is examining the effects of violence and personality on eyewitness memory. Within this study, Laura Pahone and Dave Walsh delve into how exposure to violent versus nonviolent crimes can influence a witness's recollection of events. It also speaks on how different personality characteristics can influence both the quantity and quality of the given description of the event post hoc, after it took place. In their study, Laura Pahone and Dave Walsh talk about how even though research based on estimator variables has aided criminal justice practitioners greatly, there are two important variables that are often overlooked and are rarely researched together in the area of eyewitness memory: violence and personality. Before we move on, estimator variables are factors that occur during the time of the crime that may affect eyewitness identification accuracy. If the location is dark, if there is loud noises that may be distracting outside of the crime, so on and so forth. The study found that individuals exposed to violence may experience more memory distortions or inaccuracies compared to those who were not exposed to a violent crime. It is also found that individuals with specific personality traits may exhibit resilience towards said inaccuracies in memory, while other personality traits may be more susceptible to said inaccuracies or distortions. This suggests that there is a correlation between the effects of personality and violence on eyewitness memory. To back this claim, I have found a second academic study that supports it. This study is Personality and Memory Conformity by Nicole Doughty, Helen M. Patterson, Carolyn McCann, and Laura A. Mons. In this study, significant correlations between personality and memory were found, with, quote, decreased openness, extroversion, and neuroticism relating to increased reporting of post-event misinformation, increased agreeableness relating to increased reporting of accurate post-event information, and decreased conscientiousness and neuroticism relating to increased fabrications of what took place during the event after when they're being interviewed. I have also chosen a small passage from a third study that I thought supported this claim well. This study is The Effects of the Type of Incident and the Number of Perpetrators on Eyewitness Memory by Clifford and Holland. Within this study, they state that, quote, a violent incident could generate stress in the witness and as such could cause a narrowing of attention to a limited range of information. What this means simply is that witness recall and testimony was less accurate following the witnessing of a violent crime compared to a nonviolent crime, as it limited the range that they were focusing on. After hearing what the experts have to say on this topic, let's move on to the next segment. I will now be heading into the field to interview community members based on what they may believe can affect eyewitness memory. Thank you.
There we go.
All right, so I have three questions relating to eyewitness memory. So,
Okay.
what do you believe are some of the key factors that can influence the accuracy of eyewitness memory?
What are three factors that can influence
Some key factors.
some key factors that can influence eyewitness accuracy and the account of events? I guess the level of stress. So that would be one. Um, the environmental factors, such as darkness, raining, or the elements. Um, let's see. So stressors, environmental factors would influence the eyewitness accounts. Previous experiences of the eyewitness, what they've encountered in the past and their prior experiences may impact their perception of the events and how they occurred. Any biases they may have, racial, gender, what have you, biases may influence their perception or eyewitness accounts of events. Yeah, that's about it, I guess.
That's you a lot of good
Okay.
stuff, yeah. Um, how do you think witnessing a violent crime compared to a non-violent crime might influence memory?
I would think you would have a much more accurate accounting of events in a non-violent situation where it's less stressful. I think stress can affect people's perception of events, and you may get like tunnel vision, or you may not perceive all of the things around you if you're under duress.
And in your opinion, how do you think personality could influence recollection of events? Personality traits.
Personality traits, yeah. Again, I think that kind of goes along with biases. So personality traits, yeah, I think that could influence, maybe the biases you have. Um, you kind of see what you want to see, and also you may have things that you focus in on more and are more attentive to certain things based on your personality than other things.
Well, that was all the questions I had, but
Okay.
could you also state your name?
Oh, Tim Stroth, and professor on campus.
Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome.
What do you believe are some of the key factors that can influence eyewitness memory?
Time, like the amount of time between the event and the time you're recalling it. Um, yeah, probably the levels of fear. I know your focus gets shifted a lot depending on how stressed out you are. Such as I've never thought about this before. Maybe other environmental factors. Is it nighttime, daytime, inclement weather? Some grasping now. Does that work?
These are actually the same. I asked another professor in a
All right.
class. These are yeah.
Hopefully he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, they're good ones.
All right.
How do you think witnessing a violent crime compared to a non-violent crime might affect memory?
Yeah, once again, I think emotion is going to play a big part of it. I think if there's with a violent crime, you're likely to have a more visceral reaction to it and possibly inflate or shift what you saw in memory over time. That would answer that.
And in your opinion, how do you think personality traits can influence a person's recollection of crime post the event?
Personality traits. I think that there are certain personality traits that are prone to exaggeration to begin with, for purposes of entertainment or um, engagement. And I think if you apply those, you get habituated in those in situations where there's no consequences or real downside to that. I think applied those traits and those habits into that situation, you're likely to get the story to morph or change more based on a internal narrative. It's about telling the story more so than recalling the facts. Does that make sense? It's a long-winded answer there.
Yeah, a good one.
All right.
All right, and could you state your name for?
I'm Alex Chabot. I am an English professor here at IRSC.
Thank
you. All right. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to ask you some questions about the effects of violence and personality on eyewitness memory.
Okay.
You don't have to have like any prior knowledge. It's just your opinions and what you think. So, could you give your name for the?
Okay, Mary Jo Pfister.
All right. So first, what do you believe are some of the key factors that can influence the accuracy of eyewitness memory?
Oh, goodness. I would say the time frame between the actual event and when you're asked to remember, and also your prejudice as to what's happening between the two groups or whatever groups, what's going on. So I would say time frame and prejudice probably mostly.
All right. Second, how do you think witnessing a violent crime compared to a non-violent crime might influence memory?
Violent crime would definitely be more traumatic and probably would make you not remember things because the adrenaline would kick in and you would probably not remember things initially. Maybe later you would, but somebody just coming up to an ATM and using another credit card and pulling money out, that would not be violent. So yeah, I could remember that much easier.
All right. And lastly, in your opinion, how do you think that personality traits can influence memory of a crime?
Oh gosh, a lot. If you are a very non-violent person, I think it would affect you in more ways than a more violent person and perhaps influence your memory so that you wouldn't remember those things.
All right. Yes. That was basically all I needed.
All right then.
Those are
Okay.
the three questions. So,
Well, thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Glad for the opportunity.